This is the invoice manager that I use to process and organize every single invoice that I get. Today I'm going to be showing you how to build something like this in N8N and how you can get it up and running in under 30 minutes. For today's demo, this is the Stripe invoice that we're going to be using. And what we're going to do is take this invoice, break down the components, upload the parsed data into a invoice database, and then also upload this invoice itself into a separate Google Drive folder as a backup. Right now, this invoice is sitting in my invoices label. If you want to set up a Gmail filter like this, I have videos showing how to do this as well. So now we're going to test and run this workflow. So what we're doing here is finding that invoice. We're downloading it. We're passing it through a filter just to make sure that there is an attachment for this invoice. And then we're going to be running it through our OCR API. Once we get the output from this HTTP request, we're going to be putting in some custom code to parse this data. All this will be done within ChatGPT. And then, now that it's further broken down, we'll actually just assign these parameters into a database. We'll re-download the message so that we can capture the attachment and then upload it into our G drive. So this is the database that was just populated. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. You can make it as, as complex as you want it to be. But for this case, now that we have the due date, you can even go one step further and have another separate workflow that says, if you are 5 days within this due date, I want you to send me a reminder, something simple like that. But at the very least, you'll have one Excel sheet, one database that will have all of your invoices in one place. Now, this is the invoice that was just uploaded into our Google Drive. As you can see, it's the exact same one that we were looking at earlier in this video. So now we're going to go into the individual nodes itself. So looking at the first Gmail trigger, we can run this. Every minute seems a little bit overkill. We can do it every day or once a week, however frequently you want to process your invoices. And then we're going to set the event as message received. We'll simplify it, and then we're going to put a filter so that we're only going to be looking at the label for invoices, and we're going to do unread emails only. The next step is actually downloading this message and attachment. So we're going to use a get message node, and we're going to do resource as message, get operation. Now this JSON ID is an expression, and what we're doing is grabbing this ID from the previous Gmail node. So you can see here, if you go to schema, there's an ID here for this message. We just grab this and drop it in here. And then you want to have simplify off so that you can actually just download the attachments. After that, we're going to set a simple filter. This is optional, but I want to do this so that we can only pass through information in which there is an actual attachment. So if you go into this expression, this download message and attachment is just pointing at the previous Gmail node. We're going to do that. .item.binary. We're going to go into object and check that it exists. So basically, if this attachment does exist, then the data will pass through this workflow. The next step is to look at the actual API request. So what we're going to be using is a free OCR API. This is the URL. We're going to set it at post, no authentication, send headers. And in the headers, you're going to put the API key. And then for the body, you'll set it as form data N8N binary file, because this is the binary that we're getting from the previous node. And then just the name of the actual attachment. So next step is to use some code to extract the parsed text into its separate parameters. But for this video, I'm going to show you how you can do this all within ChatGPT if you don't have a coding background. So what you're going to do is just shift and drag. Let's grab all of these and copy this, and we're going to put this into ChatGPT. So this is the exact message that I sent to ChatGPT. I simply pasted that data in here, and then I gave it a message saying, using this data from this N8N workflow, what is the JavaScript code that would be needed to parse the parsed text into separate parameters? So this is the output that ChatGPT gives me. And what you would do is just simply copy this and put it into that code node in N8N. So you might have to do a little bit of troubleshooting. For my case, when I put that original code in, this is the error that it gave me, a reference error. So I just put this back into ChatGPT and have it fix it for me. Now this is the final code that I'm going to be using. So when we run this final code from ChatGPT, these are the parameters it gives me. So the rest is very simple. Depending on what database you use, it'll be slightly different. But for Google Sheets, what we're doing is an append or update row operation. This is the actual location of database. And you can see here, we're just grabbing these fields into the respective columns. So if you go to schema here, you can just drag it and drop it. The final step is actually just getting this invoice into your G drive. And so what we're going to do is actually duplicate the second module here, right here. So we're going to do this and re-download the message so that we can grab the attachment and upload it into our Google Drive. So this is exactly the same. And finally, for our Google Drive, let's run the previous node again. So we're going to grab a file, upload. This is the name of our data and the file name. This is just the current date. And this is the actual location of the folder. So that's pretty much it for this workflow. There are other things that you can do to make it more dynamic. So for example, let's say you have invoices that are different formats each time. Then what you would do is put an OpenAI node in here and link it to a custom GPT that will basically do what we just did in the OpenAI section of this video. And so whatever output we get from OpenAI, we would just dynamically map it into this code node, and then everything else will be the same. If you're a firm that maybe gets like 5 to 10 different types of invoices, my suggestion is actually just hard coding the JavaScript into each one. Yes, it is a little bit of a hassle, but at the end of the day, it'll take less than an hour and you'll be set up. So hopefully that was helpful. If you have any questions or you want this workflow so you can just plug and play and get started, let me know down in the comments. And also let me know if there are any other sticking points or pain points within your firm that you would want to have automated.